operations.
کاوش مدیا.
Barbara, CNN.
I wanted to ask you about Iran for a minute. Two things. Roughly since January 1st, do you think Iran is closer or further away from having a nuclear weapon? And when you look at their overall weapons inventory, can you talk about what your concerns are about their qualitative improvements in things like range and precision versus their traditional quantitative large inventories? What are they doing in range and precision that worries you? And more worried, less worried about an Iran nuclear device? Are they closer or further away from?
Let me start with the ballistic missile question, because that's actually, as I look at the theater and I look at the Iranian threat, that is the most concerning threat to me. Over the last 5 to 7 years, the Iranians have made remarkable qualitative improvements in their ballistic missile force, while it has grown quantitatively as well, and now numbers, depending on how you choose to count the weapons, something a little less than 3,000 of various ranges. Nonetheless, their accuracy is become much better than it used to be. That is very concerning to me. We saw that demonstrated in the attack on Al Asad Air Base in January of 2020, where I would argue that the Iranian missiles generally hit within tens of meters of the targets that they chose for them. So that is very concerning to me, and that's probably the thing that concerns me the most about Iran. Although at the same time they have begun to invest heavily in land attack cruise missiles, and in their unmanned aerial program, their drone program has also made significant achievements. All of these are relatively new developments. I mean, over the last 5 years or so. So, it takes a while sometimes for that to become known to us and our analysts as we take a look at it. But I am very concerned about that.
Hi, General Mkenzie. You mentioned a little bit in your testimony about your concern about the sea mine threat in the Strait of Hormuz and the Bab al-Mandeb. Can you talk a little bit about how you're working with the Navy and other expeditionary forces to shore up some of the capability gaps that y'all are going to have there when the Avengers leave the inventory? Thank you.
Sure. First of all, thanks for the question. That is a concern of mine, because that is another example of an Iranian asymmetric capability that they can employ against us. And so the Strait of Hormuz is a logical place for them to do that. They have thousands of mines that they would be able to deploy. There's another area, though, that is also of concern to us, and that's the Bab al-Mandeb in the southern Red Sea, where they might be able to do it through their Houthi proxies down there. So both those areas are of great concern to us. Now, the United States does not depend on the Strait of Hormuz for our economy. However, if the Strait of Hormuz were closed, it would have a significant effect on the global economy, particularly oil exports to a number of nations, which would ultimately have an effect on us. So there's a lot of good reasons to have the capability to keep the strait open. So right now, you're right. Those minesweepers are actually going to leave the inventory at some point. That will be of concern to us. We have United Kingdom minesweepers that are there. We're looking at other alternatives to go forward. It's an area that gets a lot of attention from me, because it is something the Iranians could do and it might be hard to attribute. Although I think if you found a mine floating in the Strait of Hormuz, it's probably not German. So you probably have a guess where that might have come from.
آنچه در مورد ما میگویند